Good morning. Today is going to be me videoing on a walk because my dog is a little bit of an asshole and he needs more exercise. Last night he was a little bit rowdy, so we're trying to get him to bring some energy this morning. The only real sidewalks I have access to are next to roads, and I'm not going on a trail today because it might start raining soon. But things are starting to look up a little bit. I had my second job interview yesterday, which was nice. I think it went pretty okay. I think if they don't pick me, it's because somebody else was more qualified. But with my experience and my understanding of things and security and ability to outthink criminals sometimes, and my history with criminals, I think that it would be hard for them to find somebody better. So I think that there's a pretty good chance I'm going to get the job. You know, I'm trying to be hopeful. I have other jobs that I'm looking at just in case that one doesn't pan out. Found out today, Goodwill might actually pay a lot more than I thought. I Googled how much do people make at Goodwill, because I'm trying to look for jobs that I would actually want to do, or I would care about, or I might actually be interested in. Like, I started leaning towards librarian, but I know librarians don't make that much. Nobody's really hiring. People kind of do that for life, and I don't think that people really picture me as a librarian. But I like books, and I think books need to be protected, and I think that it's important to encourage people to read, and I think it's important to have information on paper, and I just thought about trying to look for a job where I'm just around them. Sorry for the traffic, guys. Originally, I was looking at Barnes & Noble, but most of them pay like $10 an hour and only have part-time jobs. It just didn't seem like a good place to work at. More just kind of like I'm pretty sure it'd be better just to work at a grocery store than a Barnes & Noble. And the more I look into Barnes & Noble, the more I realize it's just like a really nice looking bookstore that doesn't really have a whole lot else going for it, especially career-wise. I am working on my third book still. I'm on my second draft. Currently going through chapter 5. It's a 9-chapter book so far. It was an 8 chapter. I added a whole another chapter to it. Things are going pretty okay with it. Whenever you start working on rewriting and editing, that's kind of the part of the writing process that's bittersweet. You know, like there's parts of it that I like. I like when I just I find sections that I think I did really good on. And, you know, the most I might have to do is I might just find one section and move it to a different chapter and just kind of rearrange the information around a little bit just to kind of make it flow a little bit better. The parts I don't like is like grammar, spelling, the basic skills that any author should have that I lack, which makes writing extra fun, but, you know, possibly being dyslexic makes that fun. I don't think I'm dyslexic, but I probably am. I don't know. Grammar and spelling have never really been my strong suit, though. Even though reading and learning words and literature were always my favorite classes, those are the things I always struggled with. But yeah, I started writing this book, I think January 16th. Before that, I wrote the rough draft of a different book. So I didn't really like it too much. I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do with it. I didn't necessarily think it was that good. I wanted like more research, and I want to like hold on to that rough draft until I have something else I can add to it. That just makes it a lot better. Because even reading through it, right? Writing it felt like a chore. It's okay, buddy. Writing it felt like a chore. Reading it felt like a chore. the first time I tried to edit it, I was like, man, this is just fucking boring. And I just didn't like it. The one I'm currently working on, I like a lot. I actually enjoy rereading it. The problem that I keep running into is that because the entire book is about management, it is very hard to solely talk about one problem, especially because of the way my brain works. I try to relate everything to everything, and I try to make connections on how one problem cascades into different problems, but like each of those problems might be their own chapter, which I think is a flaw in how a lot of book writing is done. Unfortunately, it means that I end up repeating myself a lot, which is the one problem with a lot of my books is just repetition. It's why I think my first book was probably not my strongest, but my most interesting one, because each chapter was its own subject. And so I feel as though relating the subject still added something new to it, but now it's like, it feels like I'm beating a dead horse a little bit, but it also feels like there's an aspect of it that I'm not touching on quite enough that I still need to like work on. And that's basically what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to see the message that I'm sending, and I'm trying to make it more impactful. I'm trying to make it better. I'm trying to make it stick with people a little bit more. I'm trying to make people like have moments where they're reading it and they're like, oh, that's actually pretty interesting, or I like this book, or I know that's true, but I never really knew how to verbalize it before. You know, that's kind of the feeling that I always try to elicit. But it's my third book. Today is February, I think it's like 4th or 5th or something like that. I need a job if I don't even know what fucking day it is. I need to get a fucking job. Been at home for too fucking long. I've been on the internet too fucking much. But no, I want to get it done before February 16th, because I think for some reason, one, it'd be really cool to say that I wrote a book in a month, which isn't that impressive, but for me, I think it's pretty impressive. And two, the deadline, I think will help keep me on track a little bit, even if I have to push the deadline back a little bit. You know, I'm continuously working on it. Yesterday, I think I edited 2 or 3 chapters, and then today I want to get about 2 or 3 chapters done, and then tomorrow I want to get another 2 or 3 chapters done. That should be the second draft of the book finished by either tomorrow or Saturday, if you count the conclusion. And the writing process is pretty fun too, because I can't afford to go through a publisher, because even a cheap publisher told me that they were going to charge me multiple thousands of dollars, and I don't really know any of the books they got on shelves. I would need a full-time job before I can go through an actual publisher, so I might have to go through Amazon again, which isn't the best, but at least it's free. But no, I go through the whole thing, edit it. I'm adding examples of management that I've dealt with without using names of places. I'm relating it back to my old job without specifically mentioning where I am, so I'm not going to get sued. I'm trying to make sure that it reads really well. Is the thing that I really want to focus on. Is I want to make sure that when people are reading it, it makes a whole lot of sense. Because when you get excited about reading and writing, if you're like me and your brain is constantly thinking about every single thing at the same time, it's very hard to transpose your thoughts onto paper or into words. And I think it's why making these videos, even if it doesn't go anywhere, I think it's still going to benefit me. And I think a lot of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see the advantage of doing it. You know, even if I don't have a successful book, I still have had the experience of writing. I still have had the experience of going through and editing and trying to be more detail oriented than I'm used to, and trying to put my thoughts into words onto a paper in a way that people understand. Even if I don't have a successful YouTube video, I am practicing, talking, my cadence, my words, my thoughts, expressing my thoughts as I'm having them. It's why I don't really have a script, because I want it to have an organic feeling, but also, not having a job means that I'm not really talking to as many people. So I need to continue practicing talking. These things I struggle with a lot because when you're a kid and you were a nonverbal kid, right? It's very hard for you to go out of your way to do things like talking to people, and you end up struggling a lot because there's moments of conversation that you learn how to navigate, and you're supposed to learn from a very early age. And I feel like my not wanting to talk, or inability to talk, or whatever it was, has just made it to where it's very hard for me to communicate. So I guess that's a good lesson for today, right? Look for especially when things are getting harder, and especially when you're starting to stress out about things, to try to look for the benefit of things. Look for the why. Look for why it's good to do things. And even if a situation isn't bad, what lessons can you learn from it?